These people are like obsessed with age of consent.
We've had enough.
7 seconds out of a 43-second clip.
It doesn't seem like your actual take is any better.
If they can't decide which puberty they want to go through, how do you justify forcing them through puberty?
I don't even know what to do with that argument. That's crazy.
This person thinks that minors should be able to consent
to medical treatment.
This person just keeps saying medical treatment, and then you're getting mad at people when you don't explain yourself.
If minors can't consent to HRT, then they can't consent to puberty. How do you not understand the take?
You're sitting here upset that you're taken out of context. In context, frankly, sounds worse. I don't think that this person is a threat to kids in any capacity. I think that they are somebody that's very terminally online that does not know how to relate with like normal people, and somehow in this instance, Asmongold is the normal person. So don't do this. This makes you seem like you're dangerous to be around children. All right, guys, let's get into this. It looks interesting. I guess Asmongold bullied, I don't know, trans furry VTuber. Is that what that is? I don't know. Named Nyara. I saw like a small clip on Twitter, and then people were sending in the Discord. So it's like, hey, we gotta let's enjoy the slop. As I kill this for the first time. I've never died on this fight before, so it'll be great. We could do kill two birds with one stone. Let's go.
Conversion therapy is still a thing in America and government funded in some places. It's like a religious thing, and then apparently it's okay to torture children. But
I have no idea what this person's saying.
Oh, I'm so...
It's like listening to XQC in slow motion. But we'll figure this out. We'll figure this out.
So evil for saying that, hey, you know, if a child cannot consent to HRT, then they can't consent to puberty.
I feel like if you're trying to advocate for, you know, trans, if you think like, hey, you know, HRT might be the best for some trans kids, if that's your advocation, I don't think you're gonna win any. I don't think you're gonna win anything on saying something absolutely stupid and inflammatory like that. That is like the most debate bro shit I've ever seen in my entire life. That is never what. It's just stupid to say. There's no way that you said that. And not only did you say that, but you thought that was like the best take for the beginning of the video. You were like, you know what, this'll really change people's minds. This will really get people. It'll change their mind. It's like, oh, okay, like that's interesting. Mind you, this is my first. This is my first time ever seeing you, and this is the way that you decided to present yourself. It's not great, but okay.
Asmongold talked about me. So he is looking at a tweet. Transphobes love using kids can't consent as an excuse to ban healthcare for trans youth. However, it's interesting that they have no issues with forcing gender reassignment surgeries onto intersex infants.
What does this mean? What? What the fuck does that... What does that fucking mean, man? Sis? I don't know. What the fuck? I don't understand. That's your point of argument? That's where you want to go with this? Okay.
Video is reaction to Alex's coverage of the situation with Ref. How transphobes are weaponizing age of consent against healthcare.
I mean, listen, not for nothing. Listen, here I'll be absolutely honest with you guys. To me, I'm very uncomfortable with trans kids getting some kind of hormonal anything, right? Surgery-wise, if your age of consent is like 16 to have sex, then you want to know what? It's kind of on you if they want to get a surgery. Like, raise the age of consent. If you can sleep, if you're allowed to be 16 and have sex, then I guess you're also allowed to get surgeries. So increase your age of consent, maybe even higher than 18. But that's a different conversation. But I'm extraordinarily uncomfortable with like young people getting going on like hormones. I'm very uncomfortable with them going on hormones. Very uncomfortable with a lot of that kind of stuff. That being said, all the data seems to show that like it'll improve the outcomes of trans kids to go through some form of gender affirming care. That seems to be the general consensus, right? As of right now, things might change. So. Okay, as it's facilitated by a doctor, their parents, and it's a proper diagnosis, it could be a really positive thing because like every single trans person, adult that you ever meet is like, yeah, I kind of knew when I was 7 in some capacity. You know what I mean? Okay. You know, that's where I come from. But this is just an idiot argument. Like, at least acknowledge how uncomfortable that concept is. What if you get it wrong? You know, people, that's where people, you know, and I know some people just hate trans people, but like, what if you get it wrong? You know, and that could fuck the kid up. So, I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable to be at least like concerned. If you're not concerned with it at all, I'm more skeptical of you. Okay, I'm just gonna.
17-minute video. This clip is 43 seconds.
Here we go.
And it's always like so interesting that these people are like obsessed with age of consent, with like
I'm assuming Asmongold pre-watched and decided to just stop there on purpose. I would say it's interesting that conservatives say they're obsessed with age of consent, but they seem to be fine with their age of consent being 16. Like, that's where I would have gone there, but it doesn't seem like that's where this person's going to go.
That's enough. We've had enough. Let's move on.
7 seconds out of a 43-second clip.
I mean, let's be honest here. Based on the introduction of your video here, it doesn't seem like your actual take is any better. So, I don't, you know what I mean? I don't think your actual take is any better there. So, that's all I'm saying.
From a 17-minute video from a 4 to 5 hour stream. What did I say?
What do you want them to do? Watch your whole fucking stream? I mean, you want them to watch the whole video. That's fine. But like, okay. What's the rest of the context that you were going to say?
And it's always like so interesting that these people are like obsessed with age of consent, with like consent in general, but then they have like takes of how intersex people need to be forced into gender reassignment.
Yeah, see, this is just a stupid fucking point. Like, it's not even like your full point in context was good. Your point sucks. Your point's terrible regardless. This is not a good point. This doesn't mean anything to anybody. This isn't a good point. So, like, how the fuck? It's
assignment surgeries, etc., because they are broken and need to be fixed. Then consent doesn't matter. It's just when it comes to like a child getting treated for gender dysphoria, not feeling comfortable in their own skin, and wanting to get help. Then consent is like a big issue. Oh, kids can't.
I don't think that you should. I don't think that you're really reaching out to anybody that disagrees with you. I don't think that you're having productive conversations here. My opinion. It's just my opinion. I don't think that you're ever going to convince anybody. I don't think anybody that disagrees with you will ever hear that and go like, "Oh, that's a great point," ever. So.
Consent, that's why, you know, HRT and puberty blockers, etc. is like a bad thing. But when it comes to like intersex children, gender reassignment surgery, then it's like, oh, the doctors, they know better. So I guess we had Asmongold go on his stream, look at a Reddit thread with videos or like with tweets that I made. Sadly, the Leave Kids Alone video has been scrubbed. It hasn't. I just changed the thumbnail. So
well, then I guess it kind of has been scrubbed a little bit. No? You changed the thumbnail?
He clicked on a link in front of 60,000 people. He watched 7 seconds of a clip. I love that, like, he could have...
I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of Asmongold, but this one seems to be on you there, girly pop. You gotta get the pop out there. Girly pop.
Just let it play. But he stopped after I talked about age of consent in a video about how children can consent to medical treatment.
Sure, that's true. They can consent to medical treatment in general. Like, kids can consent, just not to like sex with like an adult, right? Like, we understand, like, a kid can consent to a hug and some medical treatment. It depends on what it is, and then we're having a conversation about it. This is the thing, is you're not really meeting the argument because people don't think it's a valid medical treatment. That's kind of where you have to go. Like, that's why what I said before I think is valid enough for you to be like, okay, I understand where you're coming from. You know, because it takes into consideration that emotional aspect of like, hey, what if you get it wrong? Like, I'm not excited about the concept of fucking putting young people on puberty blockers. That could be devastating. It also could be great. Maybe it'll help a lot of people. I don't really know. The doctors say it's what you're to do right now, and I usually trust professionals on what they should, like what should be done in their field.
I love that I'm like being portrayed as a groomer now. Love that they're screaming
I'm a
at me for
criminal.
going after Kesha. We're using clips that are out of
Kesha?
context, but I guess context doesn't matter. When you
The clips in context aren't great. You're older. They're not even that. They're not much better. Okay.
need to twist the facts to go after people, when you need to like portray them in a different light because you can't handle the facts. Victor made the same claim about you earlier in the stream. Is there a clip of that? Murder flashed across his mind at that instant. If you read what our post is about, you...
Well, it's obvious that Asmongold watched the clip already, and he's like, "Oh, I can make a funny by doing something like this." That was obviously like, it's at least from what I saw, that's what he was doing more than anything else.
can clearly tell what she was about to say before he cut her off to make her look bad. It was really disingenuous. He's already pretty much confirmed to have a thing for kids from his previous word.
What? What?
Vomit on his app will never leave kids alone. Are you crazy? You realize you can actually look at her post yourself? You didn't say.
Oh, they're saying that this person. Okay. Okay, they're saying that this person. Okay, I thought they were saying Asmongold. Like, what?
Never leave kids alone in a gross way. She said it in terms of supporting those who need it and not leaving them alone in a world that hates them. The point is that children can't consent in general. Regardless of how it was cut off, it doesn't change the fact of how predatory and appalling Nyara's behavior is. Nyara is already seen with disgust. Much of Nyara's content and comments are about explicitly targeting children. No, they aren't at all. No one time has she...
I get it. Your people are upset with the way that you talk about stuff. Yeah, I just feel like you maybe you got to get like a little bit of an exercise in proper communication on these topics.
Never tried to convince a kid to be trans or anything like that. The only thing she said is that the kids who are trans should be supported. Also, kids literally consent to medication all the freaking time. This is no different. See? He didn't do it to make them look bad. He just didn't want to hear anymore. Yeah, same thing. When these people talk about consent, it's always in a gross way. When I, for example, talk about consent, it is to, like, address the claims.
Okay, listen. I understand what that means because, like, I understand what they're saying is when people typically, and I'm being charitable, but I think what they're saying is like, hey, when people talk about consent, they usually think we're talking about sexual consent, but consent is more than just sex, which is true. You know, again, you can consent to a hug, you can consent to go to work, you can consent to doing some things at work. You know what I mean? You can consent to different things. You can consent to a pizza, right? If you want to like broaden the usage of the term, that's what that would mean, right? And I understand that, and I'm like, yeah, I get it. I think that's totally fine. Other people don't use the term like that, and so like you need to be understanding of that, and you have to like you kind of have to meet people where they're at. You can't just be like, no, use my terms. What are you, fucking Jordan Peterson? No, use my terms. My terms are the correct terms. Okay, that's what you have to use. It's like, no, people are not going to resonate with that message because it sounds stupid as fuck. All right, so you have to kind of meet other people out where like how they feel with the term. So you can't just like use that because it comes off as a hot take, whether you mean it or not.
Of like trans kids don't
Right,
exist because they are too young to transition and like all these things. They shouldn't have HRT. It's the same with me saying, hey, you know, if a trans kid cannot consent to HRT, then why can they consent to puberty? How does that...
I don't even know how to answer that question. Puberty is something that just like happens to you. It's a natural part of your development. So obviously it's going to be different than something else. Like, can I consent to my fucking teeth falling out? Like, you're being silly right now. That's why this is a stupid argument. This is like a pseudo-intellectual shower thought that you had. It just sounds really stupid. Like, what are you talking about?
At work, and then it's like, oh, that is so different. That's like lunacy that you even like insinuate that such a...
This is why Asmongold looks good, because the people that he talks about are fucking stupid. What the fuck is this?
Thing even like exists. That is crazy. Do normies actually fall for this kids can't consent to trans-affirming healthcare argument? I feel like
normies. Okay.
People maybe like in the center who are not really well versed when it comes to like right-wing talking points are just getting swept up a lot, because a lot of these things that they are saying are there from a fake point of like compassion. We don't hate trans people, we just want kids to make the right decisions. Love how this...
Well, yeah, I think that there are some people who actually feel that way. I understand some people dog whistle and they'll say that and they don't really care about kids. That's why they don't give a fuck about like welfare for kids. But I think a lot of people are really just concerned too. I don't think there's anything wrong with like meeting the concerned argument. Because if you could at least answer the argument of concern, like for some people it'll be valid, some people it will be, well, some people it'll be genuine, some people it won't. Okay, it won't be genuine. You might be able to at least reach the genuine people with that argument, and that's kind of where you want to go.
Pretends to be shocked, as if it's moldy. Doesn't say deranged every 10 minutes. I mean, like, he didn't let me finish to make the point.
We get it. Like, you feel like you were treated unfairly. Why don't you make a Twitter clip responding and being like, this is what I, like, why is this the way that you want to go? Is like fucking whinge about it on a fucking video.
That I was trying to make. Did Asmongold watch you? Yeah, he watched 7 seconds of me. The biggest political streamer.
Is that like your big, claim to fame? Yeah, Asmongold watch me for 7 seconds. I'm pretty cool.
Asmongold watched 7 seconds of a clip and portraying me to 60,000 people.
That's crazy.
As a,
shut the fuck up. Oh
groomer.
my god.
It's kind
Dude, please shut the fuck up. Ma'am, whatever. Just stop. I hate the victim complex shit. Like, you decided to... listen, you're an internet person. You are somebody on the internet, and you decided to have a take. That's it. It's that simple. And your take, like, what? Yeah, maybe part of it's out of context, but even with the context, it's fucking still dog shit. Let's be absolutely real. It's still a terrible take, even in context. So, like, enough is enough.
Consent means that your parents have the right to accept or refuse medical care for their child. There's like the Gillick competency. You can get vaccinated, for example, or you can get an abortion if you're a minor without the approval of a parent. Couldn't find the clip, but...
All right, well, I feel like those are two different things. Pretty different, you know? I mean, you're required to be diagnosed with things for a reason before you get any treatment. I can't just go and start, like, fucking purchasing drugs right now if I wanted to. It's not how it works. You have to have like a diagnosis for something to get a particular drug. So it makes sense not to have a kid just allowed to go and fucking transition without like a doctor's approval. Even when you get an abortion, you're getting a doctor's approval. It's just going to be a different type of approval because it is a different circumstance. That's literally it. So, okay.
Techno, let me VIP you for a second. Can you post the link again?
The thing on you, by the way? Oh, yeah, I know. This is the person that has an issue with me, by the way. This person thinks that minors should be able to consent
to medical treatment.
Yeah, well, you got to do a better job at communicating yourself. Like, at what point did this person sit here? Like, before, I was telling you, like, yeah, minors can consent to some things, like what they want for dinner, right? Like, so now you understand what I'm talking about because I'm actually explaining my fucking argument. This person just keeps saying medical treatment. Right, like you want to use a different definition for, not the different definition for the word consent, but you want to use a definition for the word consent that people don't usually think of. They usually think about it exclusively in sexual terms, and then you're getting mad at people when you don't fucking explain yourself. You're not fucking, you're not providing pretext to what you think. So like when you're getting upset with people for not understanding you, but like you explain yourself better. Like, what are you doing? Your explanations suck.
That's who's going after me. It's like none of these people fact check their cards they're posting at all. It's insane. It's like, okay, the two people going after me. One thinks that minors can consent
to medical treatment.
And the other one has multiple personality disorder, bipolar
disorder.
Dude. What? Who is he talking about?
You're schizophrenic.
They sound like Nick Swartzen and just go with it. Okay, who the fuck is that? What?
And you don't want to get help.
Man, yeah, surely they're mentally sound. It's nuts. But anyways, I'm gonna move past all this. I can dunk on them all I want. I can tweet something out. But you know what? I'm good. You know what I mean?
If minors can't consent to HRT, then they can't consent to puberty. How do you not understand the take?
That's like, you sound so fucking stupid. That's your take? That's the take? If minors can't consent to HRT, how can they consent to puberty? By the way, this is what that person sounds like, my wife said. That's the take here? Come on. That like you're sitting here upset that you're taken out of context. In context, frankly, sounds worse. So, you know what? Maybe you should be happy that you were out of context here. Because what you're saying is so fucking stupid.
Like, what the f is wrong with you? Like, seriously.
What's wrong with you?
And finish and puberty blockers aren't allowed here. Most is adults.
This is the problem. There's so many people who have an idea of the way that they think that the world should be. And because of that, there's almost like a level of entitlement where they don't feel like they have to like explain themselves in a way that the world, like where the world is at. That's where we're at here. They're not explaining themselves for, like, based on where the world is at. They're explaining themselves based on where they want the world to be. And so, like, they don't reach anybody because they don't understand how to talk to people who don't understand them.
I've talked to about it, have parroted the talking points of they can't fully consent or understand, or I'm just an afraid parent and I don't want to allow something they could regret. The thing is, like,
That's a fair point, yeah.
forcing children who are questioning their gender identity, etc., to, like, wait, it's just making the dysphoria worse. It's causing every aspect of that.
But you don't know that that's true. Listen, like, again, I'm sympathetic to trans kids existing, but this is a very complicated thing. I think that, like, the concept of gender and being transgender is something that's somewhat new from a mental health perspective, and we have to consider that there might be more than one option here. There are definitely kids who are, like, legitimately trans, have legitimate gender dysphoria, and maybe they should be on, like, some kind of hormone blocker or something, and I don't doubt that, especially since the data right now shows that's the direction that should be gone in, though that could change. But there's also going to be, like, a lot of people who are going to be very confused, especially on the internet, especially at a time where, like, there is a lot of unproductive conversation about especially women, and women do face particular and unique problems that men do. Men face problems too, but we're going to focus on women. And some of the way that we talk about that is so hyperbolic and scary that I think that there are a lot of young people, especially, who go onto the internet. They see all these things about how horrible it is to be a woman. They do get horribly objectified on the internet by anonymous trolls. And then they have, like, a deep sense of some kind of gender dysphoria, or that's how it manifests, because they're, like, afraid to be in their own skin. And then to an extent that might cause something. But, like, maybe the solution isn't to go on hormone or puberty blockers. Maybe the solution is something else, like therapy. And, like, you know, and maybe some doctors explore that. I don't really know. I would hope that they do, but I think that we can have a constructive conversation about this in general. It's like having tics, if this makes sense. Like, some people have Tourette's, and that causes them to have tics. Some people have tics that come from obsessive compulsive disorder, and I feel like it's important to understand, like, maybe what type of tic that you have so that you can correctly diagnose the problem. It's like, oh, maybe you have gender dysphoria. Where does it come from? Does it come from something you were born with? Which in some instances, I'm sure it's the case with many people, or is it something that's happening that's, like, socially, where, like, there is a tremendous amount of stress placed onto you? I'm sure that's the case for some people as well. So, you know, I don't know. And again, I don't know if doctors explore that. I would hope that they do, but I feel like it's okay to be skeptical.
Child's life to suffer. What if they regret their natural puberty? If they can't consent to HRT, if they can't decide which puberty they want to go through, how do you, like, justify forcing them through puberty? But I guess,
what about
knowing
puberty?
the allegations, I guess it checks out that you want to force people to do something that they are not comfortable with. It's definitely misrepresentation to discredit you without engaging with your argument. Yeah, absolutely dishonest. Some people won't pay for that for their kid. Healthcare costs a lot in the US. I mean, that's, like, a general problem. How many children are actually on puberty blockers in the US? 0.1%. Like how Nyara actually acknowledges people taking her out of context and provides context. That is just, like, the thing. But they don't want to hear it out, because me acknowledging that a kid can be trans is making me a groomer by default, because that's the lie that they are pushing. Like, they don't understand the topic. They're not open-minded enough. They're not willing to listen. They don't want to hear the argument. Trans adults exist, and that means trans children exist. I mean, I was one, but these people say that I've been abused. I was a victim of abuse, and that is why I'm trans. I am not. A lot of trans people are victims of abuse, because being trans, I don't know, it breaks the minds of some people, where they are like, oh, I need to just, like, abuse you and correct you. That is what they are doing with, like, lesbians, asexual people, you know? It's just like,
I mean, so one of the things that you would want to do to have a productive conversation is, like, let's say some people are abused and it does cause them to have gender dysphoria. Does that make it any less valid? Like, does that, like, do you think that, because you might be like, oh, what if you just undo the horrific abuse trauma? Well, what if you can't? Right? What if you literally couldn't do that? And maybe that's the problem. It's like, oh, okay. Now we're having, like, a new conversation. Like, maybe you just can't. Oh, dead. Maybe you wouldn't be able to do that. Maybe, like, gender dysphoria is the only option to make this person happy. Right? You gotta, like, meet the argument. Explain that to people.
If you're different than the cishet normative, it just makes it more likely that you're going to be a victim. But that doesn't mean that you are gay. It doesn't mean that you're a lesbian. It doesn't mean that you are trans just because you've been abused.
Sure, I agree.
Same with like asexual, etc. Being abused doesn't turn people trans. Yeah, that's why you can't abuse.
Well, no. Well, listen. Different people might have a different direction with their abuse. So, like, it's possible that some people might have that like rooted in there. I wouldn't want to discredit that. But again, that doesn't mean that it's an invalid. It doesn't mean that you're not trans just because that may have been where it comes from. Just to be absolutely clear.
Use a trans kid to make them cis. You can talk to them, which is like what they're
what the fuck are you talking about?
Saying with like, oh, just do therapy, yeah. Send them into
again, I understand what they're saying, like conversion therapy is abuse, but like fuck, the way that you're talking does not come off to anybody that doesn't know what you're talking about well at all.
Conversion camps where they're being tortured and abused until they're either ending their lives or they're like so depressed and anxious that they've just been like bullied into pretending to be what the cishet normative, what the conservatives want them to be. Where it's like a mechanism to like shield yourself. By the way, if you didn't know, this is a petition on banning conversion therapy in the EU. To be successful, a European citizens initiative has to reach 1 million statements of support as well as a minimum threshold in at least 7 countries. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I hope something is going to like come from that because conversion therapy is abuse. It is child torture.
That's true. Conversion therapy is abuse. I agree with that.
And it needs to be banned. I didn't expect it to actually hit the threshold though. It got really close to the deadline. Conversion therapy is still a thing in America and government funded in some places. Yeah, it's like some Christian stuff. That's how they get away with it in a lot of places. It's like a religious thing, and then apparently it's okay to torture children. But
maybe, I don't know if that's true. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that it's religious. Although it brings up an interesting concept is like if you actively wanted to go through conversion therapy, like what are the ethics behind you actually wanting to go through? You know what I mean? Like, should you be allowed to? I don't know.
So evil for saying that, hey, you know, if a child cannot consent to HRT, then they can't consent to puberty. It's so cruel. Yeah, I'm sorry. Please don't cancel me.
I just feel like this is your flagship point, and it's so stupid.
I'm just kind of fascinated that we're at a point where all these big streamers who literally weaponize talking points, political talking points, turning it into drama by making it very reactionary, very emotionally charged, not engaging in good faith, and portraying and invalidating anyone's character instead of actually interacting with the points, with the talking points. Like, these types of people are coming after me. Back then, when Rev came after me while I was still in the hospital, I was freaking out. Then he came after me for the second time, and I started engaging with it instead of hiding. I don't know what it is about me, but I seem to piss these people off a lot.
I don't think that you piss these people off. From what I'm hearing in this video, it just seems like you're kind of easy because your talking points suck. I think that's what it is. I think you just have shitty talking points, and so people are like, "Oh, this will be an easy dunk." So I don't think it has anything to do with anything else, but
they can't handle you being right. Yeah, they're not used to getting talked back to, especially not by a woman, right? Damn, this.
Okay.
Small.
I guess they wouldn't really see it that way, but yeah, sure.
VTuber, small little foxo, trans VTuber. It should be so easy to bully me into silence, right? I don't know. I guess I haven't learned my place yet. Maybe you do need to call your dad. Maybe you need to make that phone call to get tips by dehumanizing me, by demonizing me with like weaponizing the fact that I acknowledge the existence of trans kids because I was one. They justify to themselves and to their community to like go after me. If normies read the talking points that I have, then they're going to like understand. They're going to like see how I'm being portrayed is incorrect. That's why me actually...
I thought it was like an actual boss. I just fucking destroyed that guy. What the fuck?
Making this thumbnail with like, oh, we will never leave kids alone because we care about like supporting trans kids and want them to have like access to health.
I mean, it might be a good idea to not always talk about trans kids. Listen, I mean, I get it. They're a trans person, and it looks like they don't just talk about trans kids, but you know, if you focus all exclusively on the topic, people are going to get skeptical.
Care and education, etc. We don't want them to lose housing, for example, just because they come out as trans. They're weaponizing that. They're twisting it into something evil. But when people actually look into that, they're going to like see how disingenuous their rhetoric is. Understand people's hesitancy around trans kids because of their ignorance. But when you dispel that ignorance and they double down, then I no longer.
I don't even think it's just ignorant. I mean, I think there are people that it is the level of ignorance, but still, it's pretty intense. Like, what you're telling people to do when it comes to, like, telling people to accept trans kids going on HRT is you're telling them that they're going to most likely go through a life-altering event that is irreversible, right? And you might say, like, oh, no, you can come right off it and it's reversible. Probably. But if you don't come off of it, it's not reversible, right? And that's kind of the point. And so, you know, I don't think it's unreasonable for people to be like, that's kind of scary. Like, that's a really scary thing. I'm very uncomfortable with that. You know, meet people where they're at with that. Like, yeah, that is pretty scary. I get it. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, if you're unwell versed in the topic, a lot of right-wing talking points are going to sound reasonable to you. But like, if you sit down with someone and you have an open mind and you engage in good faith, then all these misconceptions that you have that are shaping your perception of what it means to be trans or like healthcare, etc., is going to be resolved. It's usually confirmation.
I don't think it's gonna. I think that some of these people think way too highly of themselves. Like, no, I don't think that a single conservative would ever talk to you and move their needle at all more towards your perspective ever. I don't think that would ever happen. Personally, I think that you are an ineffective communicator, and it would kind of make sense to be an ineffective communicator. To be clear, you know, because you're not a cisgendered person, and that's kind of the whole point of you know, people that aren't from a particular group advocating for that group. Like, I'm a white dude, so like I'm a cisgendered white guy, so like I would be able to kind of understand maybe what would resonate more with somebody that's not trans on like them maybe accepting a trans person, right? And for you, there's like, you don't have that intuition because you're not cisgendered, so I get it. But still, I don't think you're changing any conservatives' minds.
Nation bias, people naturally just look for things that confirm what they think rather than any proof opposing it. Yeah, that's what I mean with having an open mind. You're triggering them because you're disproving their arguments, so you pose a danger to them. What they're attacking me with is baseless, but because they have the bigger platform, they can shape the narrative and they can weaponize their audience that they have, who are just going to take everything that he's saying at face value. You know, same with Asmongold. His incel fan base is not going to question things and be like, hey, actually, maybe you should have like let the clip play because the tweet actually says what the clip is about. I don't know.
I just hate this because your fucking point sucks. It doesn't matter if he let the clip play. Your fucking point is terrible. It never would have mattered. It literally, like, he almost did you a fucking favor by saving you the embarrassment of playing that awful, abysmal fucking dog shit thing.
I don't know what's going to like come from this. All the people at the lowest level who have initially come after me are now like trying to capitalize on the fact that, oh, they've been calling me out for such a long time.
It's just such a sense of self-importance in this video. It's so crazy because like from every political perspective, I don't like Asmongold. I do think that he will uncritically kind of spout like right-wing talking points, and I don't think it's like particularly constructive or productive or healthy or anything. Right? Just like me. Am I right, guys? Because I'm fat. That's the joke. But every single one of his fucking ops makes me like, it makes it hard to dislike him. That's the problem. His ops make it hard to dislike him because comparatively, like, what do we got here? We got this fucking, you know, we got this person whose big take is, hey, if you can't consent to puberty blockers, then how can you consent to puberty? I don't even know what to do with that argument. That's crazy, you know. Or you got someone like Hassan, who's like the take that made me hate him was like how he doesn't care that Ukraine is getting genocided by Russia and that there's been historic genocide campaigns through starvation so that Russia can say like, oh, they're gonna they basically genocided the Ukrainians and implanted Russians and said, hey, this is our land now. Doesn't care, right? And so like these are the things. It's like these are the people, Politically, I disagree with everything he's saying, and I even think he's irresponsible in some of his coverage because I've watched some of his stuff before. But then based on all of his fucking ops, like you guys sound so insane that it's hard to... It's like you guys sound ridiculous and insane by comparison.
They've been calling us groomers. This isn't new. It's just like, yeah. It's recycled rhetoric. Every talking point is like the same, but they still like insist on pushing that. Do you have future plans on what direction your content creation is gonna take? I'm not sure. I do still want to have like my normal, typical content, but I've been also like struggling with like how I engage with like trans topics that aren't dependent on me debunking transphobic talking points. I want to collab with more trans creators, especially trans people who aren't necessarily trans women, just to get like a different perspective.
What about like Lily Tino? Why don't you collab Lily Tino? Bro, I gotta say something here. Let me find this. Here's my thing. I want to pretext this very importantly. I think trans people are valid. I even think Dylan Mulvaney's valid. They get a lot of unnecessary hate. People don't like them because they're cringe, which is true, but it's because they do theater, not because they're trans. I know a lot of theater people. They're very cringe. My wife is a theater person. Her friends are. They're talented, but they're super cringe. Shout out to that black guy that played Collins. But have you ever seen Lily Tino walking? I don't even know what else to say. I don't know. I don't know. It's just, I wanted to separate my perspective because there's something unique about this individual. They give me Vosh vibes, if that resonates with anybody. I don't know. Let's finish this.
To like non-binary people, for example, I've been mostly commenting about like the situation with like trans rights in the US, for example, or the UK. There's always going to be some political stuff to talk about, but it kind of gets really tedious after a while, and I need to broaden my niche, I guess.
Okay. Cool. Great video. We're going to move on to the next one, obviously, guys. Poggers. Let's get the second video going on. Transphobia is always the same, and I'm tired of it.
Like Kirche has only gained more viewers and money in the past 2 months. Right-wing content creators have banded together to bully Anna Valence and me into silence.
Are you speaking a different language?
Real cancel culture comes from the right because of the shift in the political climate.
Yeah, some cancel culture comes from the right. Yeah.
Transphobia, racism, anti-Semitism, etc. is a lucrative trend. The truth doesn't matter anymore. And if you go against the fascist ideology, these people will stop at nothing. As a trans person on the internet, I have faced so much harassment that I thought I got used to it. However, after Asmongold, quote-unquote...
I mean, I could understand, like, being very mentally and emotionally into a topic. I get that. Also, I think this is a game bug, and we're just gonna go with it, and we're not gonna care. That's what we're gonna do. I don't give a fuck.
Reacted to me, my perspective has changed. When Vice put the articles, it showed Kirche and her right-wing friends that they can get away with anything. It doesn't matter how offensive
these biological women claiming to be men perpetrating shootings,
how hateful she is.
They're building like a 2.5 million pound mosque somewhere in like northern England that doesn't even have like a large Muslim population. And I was like, of course they are. Yeah, of course they are. I get increasingly angry when I see people who are just like, well, they're not doing anything illegal, so like you can't really be mad at them. It's like this is very clearly a hostile takeover.
People with
that person is an unhinged freak. They think that there's a hostile Muslim takeover. Okay.
Throw money at her and anyone else who pushes the same rhetoric, but the opposition gets silenced. I'm incredibly disappointed.
Maybe we'll have to take a look at that person individually at some point. You know, if you find anything, August, let me know.
Advice for giving in and removing the articles by
The mosque is a lie. Is that true? Okay, I don't know.
Avalanche to the sheer mention of a lawsuit because it did an incredible disservice to free speech. I know that if Vice faced backlash for this, they would reinstate them, which is why I'm asking you to make your voices heard. In yesterday's stream, I have addressed the video about me on Asmongold's clip channel, but I've seen more and more slop content pop up that push the same narrative. This is an
What is
emotional.
it that you're like you diddle kids or something? I don't think that they do. I just think that I honestly, I don't think that this person is a threat to kids in any capacity. I think that they are somebody that's very terminally online that does not know how to relate with like normal people, and somehow in this instance, Asmongold is the normal person. So that's that's where we're going in society here. It's pretty cool, right? You guys.
Emotional and traumatic topic for me, and since I'm incredibly vulnerable
that's
right
fair.
now, I hope you don't mind yesterday's crash out. As a trans person who didn't have access to education and healthcare as a kid, it took me years
shit.
to not only
You
learn
gonna go to school? The fuck?
about the fact that I'm not alone with my struggles, but I had to unlearn a lot of the internalized transphobia. I thought there was nothing I can do about my gender
just
dysphoria,
stop
and I
it.
just needed to find a way to cope. This led to me spending my childhood and teenage years isolating myself and being depressed, anxious, and
Sad stuff.
suicidal. When I found out that I wasn't just a crossdresser, a femboy, and so on at 17, I just spent years educating myself on trans topics in order to understand myself better. It took me until I was 22 to have the strength and courage
bad
to
for
come
some.
out, and then 3 more years to find a therapist who was knowledgeable enough to help me start HRT. I create content to share my experience,
Okay.
teach about the things that I have learned from experts in the field. My opinion is being backed by scientific evidence and every major medical association, but transphobes dismiss any studies that show them. However, I'm neither a therapist
I mean, it might have been productive to use that as an opportunity to show some of these statistics you're talking about, because I agree with you. But also, it's one of those things where maybe like overall right message, wrong messenger. I don't think that you're somebody that's ever going to get through to somebody that's a little more normal. So not like, and I'm not saying they're abnormal because they're trans. Like I've talked to normal trans people before, but you're very terminally online. So
no work in the medical field. I'm literally just an anime fox girl on the internet who
that's more of the thing that comes off as maybe not so relatable. An anime fox girl.
happens to piss off the worst types of people who now need to push a disgusting narrative in order to justify their transphobia,
I suppose.
to show everyone what happens when you go against their gender ideology. The worst part of it all is seeing other trans or queer people in general fall for their rhetoric. I've been there, and I hope by providing more context I can clear up most, if not all, misconceptions. Although you do need to agree that trans kids exist just like gay kids or straight kids. I'm at a breaking point, and as one of the bigger trans rights advocates in this space, I feel like I need to keep pushing through this, but I just
Are
can't
you really a trans right advocate? I don't know. Okay.
do it alone anymore. I will be taking some time off of content creation, but I will make a return on June 3rd, 5 p.m. CEST at twitch.tv/NyaraVT. Make sure to join the Discord if you want to stay updated. The link to it is in the description. I can't thank you all enough for your support, and I hope you enjoy my breakdown. I made the video talking about the slop tubers with this one clip of Asmongold cutting me off mid-sentence, 7 seconds into the video, to portray me in a way that has been used to justify the harassment, the hate crimes against the trans and gay community. I'm just going to
Wait, trans gay community? What the fuck? Okay.
say this. I've certain things that I want to address.
So we have a person here who is a big fan, very big fan of giving children puberty blockers.
Forcing trans kids to go through a puberty that doesn't align with their gender identity.
I think one thing that this person should do here that would probably make it like a lot easier to communicate is to focus on the fact that you're trans in a more productive way, right? So right now, you don't have to win every fight here. You don't have to win the fight that like you're going to convince people that it's changed and like think that it's okay to get like go transition or whatever, right? Like, you don't necessarily have to win that fight. But if you can try to win the fight where people think you're a fucking predator, right? And so how you would win that fight is you'd say, listen, even if you disagree and you don't think it's the right way to go, I'm trans. So maybe you think I have a bias, but I'm not a predator. That could be a way that you potentially go for that, you know? You don't have to win every fight. The first fight you have to win is the fight where they're dehumanizing you and insinuating or really just calling you a predator because you think children should have access to puberty blockers, but like you are a trans person So obviously you come from a perspective where you wish you got puberty blockers as a kid, and it probably would have helped you. And I think that you should focus on that.
And causes them to have depression, anxiety, and a high risk of suicidality just because you believe that trans people shouldn't be allowed to exist is bad, actually. Admits children should take anabolic steroids if they are groomed through Munchausen by proxy. Like the level of transphobia in this statement. HRT, they're not...
I mean, like, that's what they're effectively saying, is that being trans isn't real, and like the parents are grooming their children into thinking that they're trans so that they can get attention from the internet. That's what that's saying, which is obviously like ridiculous.
Anabolic steroids, and you cannot groom a cis kid to become trans.
You probably could. I just don't think it's happening. Like, you could probably like horrifically abuse somebody to that point. I don't think that's happening in any instance, though.
Trans kids exist. I don't understand how this is a controversial statement. So this channel is also...
I think you do understand. That's the problem, though. If you don't understand like how it's a controversial statement, that's why we're here, right? And like that's why you get so much like flack, because like you're not getting that argument. But that's like the majority of the argument from a lot of these people, is that they don't think that exists. They don't think it's real, and you kind of have to meet that argument. It might be unfair for you, but if you want to, be in this like space, I guess that's kind of what you have to do. You have to be able to argue with people about that.
Being hosted by Asmongold's clipper or editor. This isn't even like, just an Asmongold clip from a stream. This is not a stream highlight. This is just like, him being a tool to push a certain propaganda.
Giving children puberty blockers. Trans people will never leave kids alone. We want trans kids to be trans and give them the education and care we desperately needed when we were younger. Stop making it so difficult for us to be part of society.
This tweet...
I mean, that's fine. Sure.
Well,
let me just be clear. This tweet's fucking abysmal dog shit. And like, if you actually thought that this was a smart way to try to communicate that there are trans kids that need like gender affirming care or whatever, like this, if you actually thought that, you should stop talking about this topic. Saying trans people will never leave kids alone to people who are very skeptical and have bought into the lie that trans people are groomers, that's going to just confirm what they already thought. So this does nothing. Okay, stop doing stuff like this. I don't know if you're like, are you content brains? You really think that this was going to be the best way to communicate this message? Trans people will never leave kids alone. You're making trans people seem like they're dangerous. You're a furry VTuber model that exists on the internet as like some kind of like a trans goldfish from American Dad, right? Like this is you're not like an accurate representation of trans people who walk around every single day and like they live in society and they functioning in society and they just want to be left alone. And like this is just puts a target on their back when you have full anonymity, because again, you're a VTuber model. Like that's ridiculous. That's irresponsible. Don't ever say stuff like that. That's stupid. Trans people are not trying to harm or groom your kids. There's a higher chance that you're going to get molested by a priest than you're going to get molested by a fucking trans person. Let's just be absolutely clear and absolutely real. And like, hey, you know what? Trans kids probably exist because trans adults, they were kids at one point, and then engage from there. Like, but it is still a very scary thing to put kids on hormones, right? Meet the argument though. Don't do this. What is this? This makes you seem like you're dangerous to be around children. That's just stupid. Why would you do that? This is ridiculous.
On purpose, more controversial. This was a thumbnail for a YouTube video. I changed the thumbnail. I think right now the thumbnail says, let trans kids be trans. And by trans people will never leave kids alone, it obviously means that trans people are not going to give up on the...
That's obviously what it means, guys. That's obviously what it means. Okay, I don't know why I just said that. That's obviously what it means, guys. That's not obviously what it means. If that's what it means to you... You're not. If you're trying to change people's perspective, you can't talk like you're talking to yourself.
Next generation of trans people, of trans kids, because we know what we've been through, and we want their lives to improve. We're tired of being a scapegoat, being used as a tool for right-wingers to garner votes. Would you debate Asmon about this? I don't believe he would like talk to me.
You should never debate Asmongold. Do not do it. You will come off looking so bad. You will get fucking wrecked. Have somebody that actually knows what they're fucking talking about. You have no idea. You're not. Your communications are terrible.
I don't like
do that.
debates in that sense, because what I'm saying is just like factually true information.
Okay.
It is backed by every reputable medical association, and it's in line with the WPATH standards of care 8. It is in line with my personal experiences and with the life experiences of other trans people that I know. And he literally would just go, "Nuh-uh. Well, I think..."
Yeah, because your arguments suck balls.
And like, you can't have a debate like that. It wouldn't work. Asman doesn't know enough about the topic in order to understand where he is wrong. There's no common ground. It is just like blatant ignorance.
Yeah, there really is no common ground. You're somehow more terminally online than this person. It's fucking ridiculous.
From his side, it is malicious ignorance. Like, the outrage is being used for him to get more money, get more views, get more relevance, being boosted in the algorithm. There's like no point in like engaging with that more than I already have. I just hope that like maybe
I don't know. I think I could probably get through to Asmongold a little bit. Not that it would ever happen, but I think I would be able to. I think that I could probably at least do a better job than this than this person. I'll tell you that much. Okay, this person is not very good at this.
some people out there are going to hear the things that I'm saying, and they're like, well, maybe she does have a point. Anyways,
I don't think anybody's thinking that.
let me rewatch that because of the crash.
So we have a person here who is a big fan, very big fan of giving children puberty blockers.
I mean, it's pretty important to say what type of child it is. It is children who are questioning their gender identity in order to
Well, it's not this questioning. It's people with like a legitimate official diagnosis. You need to be more clear.
prevent them.
It's not just about questioning, right? Like, we have to understand it's more than just questioning. Has to be more than just questioning. Okay? That's a little different.
Going into
I know it doesn't seem like a big deal to some of you guys, but that's like a really big deal in the way that you're trying to communicate. You want to be like this advocate. You need to really, especially if you want to like talk to people who aren't fucking trans, you really need to be better at your arguments here.
to the tenor stage before they were like talking to a therapist to figure out what the right path for them is. The goal of it is literally just to give someone who is questioning their gender identity time to work with experts before deciding what the right path for them is. It is just like in line with the standards of care 8 from the WPATH. Trans people will never leave kids alone. Obviously, what I'm talking about is trans people are not going to give up on trans kids. We want trans kids to have a better future than we had. We want them to have the education and care that we needed, and we just want them to be a part of society and not be used as a scapegoat by fascists to mobilize people.
Okay, so I generally can agree with a lot of this, but this is never going to change anybody's mind. Like, you're not going to be, you're talking to people who like Trump. They don't think that he's overreaching. They don't think that how he's engaged is overreaching his bounds in any capacity. They don't really value January 6th as an event. They don't think it's real. They don't think it's meaningful. They don't really care that Trump pushed some people, some different media, like out of being able to, go into press briefings. At least it was like momentarily. They don't really care that he pushes like Russian propaganda when it comes to like Russia, Ukraine. They don't really care about these things. And so like, you can't just be like, yeah, they're all fascists. Like, it's not. You have to engage in a better you're not going to resonate with people. It's too many things happening at once. Like, you have to engage in like a level of, I guess we'll call it homogeneity when it comes to your arguments here. You can't be off the walls talking about 10 things at once, which is what we're doing here, right? Like, we're talking about too many different things. It is a talking point from a lot of conservatives. It's a lazy talking point, which is why they'll push a lot of this divisive shit. I agree with that, but like, you're not gonna win on that point right now. You kind of have to. You have to like chill. You have to chill a little bit with some of your talking points.
so they get more and more power, so they can exploit more people.
Trans people will never leave kids alone. We want trans kids to be trans and give them the education and care we desperately needed when we were younger. Stop making it so difficult for us to be part of society. It is not transphobic to not want kids to transition.
Yes, it is.
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question right now because I don't know why you don't want kids to transition. And I don't think it's a productive conversation to talk like that. Depends on what your motivation is. If you just hate trans people, then it is transphobic. If you're like unconvinced it's the right way to go, I don't know that that's transphobic. You know what I mean? Like, again, we need to have the correct argument, have the correct conversation.
Because your reasoning for trans kids, for not wanting trans kids to transition, is the fact that you do not have an understanding when it comes to gender-affirming care for trans youth, and you are literally pushing transphobic talking points. So I'm going to...
Maybe, sure. I think that's Asmongold's probably like a person that you could probably resonate with and like actually have a conversation with about this. Oh, fuck. I think he seems like somebody that might be able to change his mind, even if not fully or immediately.
I'm going to like bring up Paint in just a second, but let's watch and let them finish the point, because I don't want to use something out of context that might be like dangerous. Here's the same talking points that refuse people hysterectomies. Yeah.
This is not transphobic. This is normal.
No, this is not normal. It is just...
It would be considered normal in the context of like how society feels. So he's not really wrong about that. And that's why his arguments are so easy, right? It's because his arguments are so easy in this instance because like he's not fighting. He's fighting from a place of like general, this is the norm. So like it would be considered normal. Even if he's wrong, this would be considered normal, right? That's kind of like what makes it so difficult for you to fight this fight, is because it is considered normal, right? So again, not acknowledging that one too.
Based in ignorance. You don't know enough about...
Yeah, it's normal and based in ignorance. I agree with both of those statements.
The topic to make these calls, but I'm gladly going to explain this to you. So this is the claim. I argue that it is transphobic for the following reasons. You do not want children to transition because you don't understand that trans kids exist.
I think that you're going to lose a lot of people with this argument, specifically because you're opening up what transphobia means too much. You're opening it up too much. It means so in general, like you could say like any type of bigotry is a spectrum, right? Like everything is a spectrum, right? Autism is a spectrum. But no, every type of bigotry is like is a spectrum. And so if somebody's ignorant to trans stuff, maybe you could argue that that's transphobic. I don't know if you would, but they would. Maybe you hate trans people. That's definitely bigoted, right? And so like, you know, again, you want to kind of separate people who might just be ignorant versus people who legitimately hate trans people. I don't know if Asmongold hates trans people. I think that like he has a financial incentive tied to spouting like dog shit right-wing talking points, and I think that there's a big part of that. When it comes to his commentary, I think he probably is somebody who, and maybe I'm speculating too much, he's probably somebody who didn't get very much positive attention in school, and he feels really good now that a bunch of people really like him, and I think that that's very empowering for him. And so like, you know, that makes more sense to me than anything else, but I don't think that he's actively like hateful, but I think he could potentially change his perspective.
You do not want trans kids to receive gender-affirming care because you do not believe that trans kids exist. You believe that they were groomed into this, they were forced into this, they were manipulated because they're children. Nobody's born in the wrong body type of things. That is like the rhetoric, and all of it is based in transphobia.
Whoa, did you just say all of it's based? What the hell?
Are not suddenly turning from a cis kid to being a trans...
You're not... Well, they're going to argue that you're not suddenly turning from a cis kid into a bro kid, you know what I mean?
Adult. Once you hit 18. Once you hit 25 and your brain has been fully developed, what you want to do by preventing children access to puberty blockers, You don't allow them to work with experts to give them the time they need to not be rushed into irreversible changes done to them naturally through the wrong puberty. Also, you do not want them to receive...
Right, but then to them, they're going to say, like, hey, being on hormone blockers, that is an irreversible change. And it probably, the longer you're on it, the less reversible it is, right? Like, there, you know what I mean? So that's where they're going to come from. And I think it's at least acknowledge that.
The HRT, because you think that for some reason, HRT is something irreversible and it's like life ruination or whatnot.
Well, it is irreversible. That's the whole goal of it, right? You want it to be irreversible, so it helps kids. I understand what you're saying. That, like, you know, as long as you stop it soon enough, it's reversible. Again, take that into consideration when talking about this. What the fuck? Where'd you come from?
And puberty is like this holy natural thing, but HRT induces the same effects of puberty. But the difference is you're not forcing them through changes that do not align with their gender identity. You are not going ahead and you're like, well, okay, little Timmy, I know you really feel uncomfortable being a boy and you really hate that we are calling you by he, him pronouns, but you just have to endure that until you're 18 and then you can go and try to find help. So maybe in the next, I don't know, 8 years, someone is going to help you. When your puberty is finally accomplished, then you can actually go ahead and go through second puberty, which was completely unnecessary because you could have just went through the proper one initially. You wouldn't have to deal with all these irreversible changes.
Yeah, I mean, again, I can generally agree with this argument, but...
Just done to you. Takedown is reacting to you, to my video. Oh god, I don't care. Because it's
well, isn't that what you want? Isn't that the whole point? Is you want them to react to you, so that like you can change at least their audience's minds. No,
literally the same rhetoric. What I'm saying here is like this rhetoric has been pushed for such a long time. It was also being used by Nazi Germany to push for discriminating against...
I guess they would know what they sound like. I don't...
trans people going to the first gender clinic in Europe, in Germany, and killing the staff, burning all the research. And you know what? If you go back in time 1,000 years ago, you're still going to find people whose gender identity doesn't match their biological sex of the body, which Asmon has denied. Oh yeah, because actually it was burned because he heard that it was written in Jewish.
Look, I have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. Here's what I will say. I wonder, have you guys ever thought about going into like this direction of philosophical, or into the more philosophical direction when it comes to having a conversation about you know, gender dysphoria? Like a lot of religious people are very obviously they're more spiritual based, and I feel like maybe you could resonate with them on that, you know, instead of going into like the, well, you know, this and the science. And let's not talk about science right now. Let's talk about philosophy. Let's talk about like the concept of, you know, you have a body and then you have a brain. You know, you have a mind, you have a spirit, you have a body, you have a soul, you have all these different things that are inside of you. And like body wise, you can't change your sex, but maybe you could change your gender. You know, maybe you can have a deep feeling. Maybe you could change that. Philosophically, we already kind of know that there are some changes we can make. We remove the assignment of what it means to be a man to people who commit horrible crimes. If you molest a child, you're not a real man, right? So I don't know, maybe try to go in that direction, right? There's some kind of I don't know, just we get it, you know? I don't know, something like that. It's possible. I don't know.
And that is what I mean.
I don't think I have it in my brain today to really be, you know, make any great points. So
you do not know enough about the topic, and you think that like, oh, you just want to protect children. It is common sense to protect the children. But what about the child that is suffering from gender dysphoria, that is being tortured because people don't want to allow them to get the proper help and care that they desperately need? You're literally harming a child, not just physically, but mentally. Oh, go to therapy, go
Could
to
be.
therapy. What do you think is the first...
But they don't think it's valid, so this isn't going to be an argument that really resonates with any of them. That's like where you're kind of failing.
...step in order to get approved for gender-affirming care if you're trans? If you're a cis boy and you have gynecomastia, you have natural breast growth, you can literally just go ahead and get a double mastectomy because boys shouldn't have breasts. But if you're a trans boy, then it's like, oh, you're just a little bit confused. You don't know what you're talking about. You're going to grow up and don't you want to be a mom? What about your fertility? You have to think about like starting a family.
I think that these are all pretty valid things to hear, even if you're trans, no?
That's always like the rhetoric. It's literally just...
I feel like some of that makes sense. Like, don't you want to be a mom? I mean, you could freeze your eggs. Like, yeah, you're free. Oh, I'll freeze my eggs. I'll freeze my sperm. I'll just, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, come up with a counter the argument, you know?
Infantilizing and patronizing trans people because you assume that being trans is just a phase. You're going to grow out of it. And if we offer more care, then more people are going to suffer. Oh, did you know that 10% actually regret transitioning? What about the 90% who don't regret it? Even the percentage that start HRT and then figure out, hey, it doesn't align with my body. I'm going to stop taking HRT and I'm going through my body's puberty. Like, that is still an option. If you are a child and you are transitioning, you have constant guidance. If you're not receiving that help, you are literally just experiencing constant changes with your body that is going to actively ruin your life. I know what I've been through. I know what my path was like. I know what the stories of other trans people actually is. I know what the experience, or like what the experts of opinion of all the major outlets, of all the major organizations actually is. We know that a lot of these practices have been in place for the last, I don't know, 30 years. They've been refined. They would have been so much more advanced. We would have been so much further in this whole journey if these wouldn't have burned it down, if they wouldn't have destroyed all the research. But I guess it was written in Jewish, so this is why it is transphobic to say these things, because you do not understand the medical process, the journey that trans people go through, and you refuse to acknowledge the existence of trans kids because you heard the stories of a woman forcing a 2-year-old kid to be trans. Crazy. Anyways, and it's always like so interesting that these people are like obsessed with age of consent, with like
I mean, again, it wasn't exactly like the greatest way to communicate your point there. So
that's enough.
I already talked about that in the last video that I made. Obviously, you cut me off mid-sentence. I was talking about transphobes love using kids can't consent as an excuse to ban healthcare for trans youth. However, it's interesting that they have no issues with forcing gender reassignment surgeries onto intersex infants. In the
so again, I don't think anyone's resonating with this point at all.
Video, I talked about, hey, you know, isn't it interesting that they always obsess
I got a plane here. Why don't I just take this ship and fucking fly it where I need to go?
About age of consent, but they never really acknowledge all the other things that they are forcing children to go through in the medical field, like forcing intersex infants through gender reassignment surgery. It's the same with like, oh, kids can't consent, but the majority of gender-affirming surgeries are performed on cis boys with gynecomastia. I guess then it doesn't matter if...
Well, it's probably a difference between, you know, taking out some titty fat versus going through an entire, like, you know, emotional and physical process. Again, you're not really meeting the argument.
Boy has breast tissue from their natural puberty, from a natural imbalance in their body. because like the estrogen levels are too high or something, then it's okay because a boy knows they're a boy.
What the fuck
but
am I
a
supposed to do
trans boy
next?
doesn't know they're a boy, and a trans girl apparently doesn't know they're a girl. They don't know who they are. They're going to grow out of it. And like my response to these things are always like, can you tell me when in your past did you imagine yourself as the opposite gender for like a long period of time? Something that
Well, I mean, yeah, but using the term imagine is probably not going to help your case here.
has been like constantly on your mind, where you're at a point that like, hey, if I
just
would
gonna
wake
jump.
up as a girl, I would be so much happier. Is that something that like happened in your life? Is that something that you grew out of? Because like if cis boys know that they are boys and they are comfortable in their skin and they're going through the right puberty, the puberty that aligns with their gender identity, how can you turn around and be like, oh, trans kids, they don't know any better? And yes, there are instances where kids can consent to medical treatment. This has nothing to do with sex. It is not about marriage. I mean, you people want to lower the age of consent for marriage.
See, this is like like, go with this argument when you talk about age of consent. Like, yeah, be like, oh, you guys will pretend to care about age of consent, but like you guys have no interest in raising it, and conservative states have lower ages of consent, etc.
And by you people, I mean Republicans in the US. Something that I really want to address is like, yes, I'm saying that kids can consent to medical treatment, gender affirming care for a reason.
Well, yeah, but again, people aren't going to consider this like valid medical treatment, which I think it is. But you have to, you know, we're moving past the argument. You gotta stick up with the actual argument that's being made here. Incredible.
Because if I would say that like the parents need to consent for the child, you would turn around and say then the parents are groomers because the kid doesn't know any better and they are being pushed into that. That is the agenda. This is where it all leads to. Why I'm saying these things, it is literally just to showcase that a trans boy or a trans girl
The way that they like linger with their trans boy, you know, it's like, oh my god.
knows the dysphoria that they are feeling. Obviously.
Listen, they know that they're experiencing something, right? Like, this is another thing too, is you're giving too much agency and credibility to children. Like, again, I think it's valid to be a trans kid. I think that they exist, but you know, it's very confusing. And so I know when I was younger, like I was confused about shit. You know, I think everybody goes through like phases where they might think they're fucking gay or something like that or whatever. Guys, I have something to admit. No, people are confused, and it's hard to interpret those feelings because you don't have life experience behind you to be able to like understand yourself, right? And so, like, yeah, they're confused. Maybe they don't have gender dysphoria. Some people think that there's like a lot of, or all, but like a lot of trans people are misdiagnosed. It's like, okay, so then like, I don't know, say something reassuring about that. You know, like, hey, there's like a lot of there's very robust medical data, and they have said that, but meet the argument. You know, you're putting too much agency onto children who, you know, most of us know are fucking stupid.
They do need to work with experts so they are diagnosed with gender dysphoria so they can go in the right direction. This is spanning over years.
There you go. That's a good direction there. I wonder if anybody would watch a VTuber and go, wow, you're really changing my mind.
This is not something where you walk in. You're not walking to an endocrinologist and you're like, I feel like a woman today, so I want my estrogen, please. Like, that doesn't work. I started coming out with 22. I'm from Germany, just so you know.
Wow, really? I never would have guessed that.
Obviously, when I talk about like age of consent for medical treatment, it is also like shaped by the fact that I'm from Germany and there's no fixed age. It is always looked at by case to case. But the thing is, like, I came out with 22. I had to find a therapist in order to get approved for gender affirming care for HRT. I couldn't even walk.
Wow, so sad.
To the endocrinologist and be like, hey, I want to start HRT. I want to have cross-sex hormonal treatment. No, I needed to get approval from a psychiatrist or from a therapist to make sure that this is the right path for me, that I'm not schizophrenic, that it's not a phase, that it's not multiple personality disorder. It took me 3
I feel like this is what you should have led all of your conversations with here more than anything else, no?
years to find a therapist who was qualified enough to actually give me that approval so I could walk to the endocrinologist and start treatment. It took me 3 years. I was driving all across the country. Medical staff in these areas is incredibly rare. And using that propaganda that is being pushed, echoing it back to millions of people is so harmful for 1% of the population. But you don't care. Now, because this is the Asmongold Clips channel, we get commentary from the editor.
That's always so cringe. Asmongold's editor is so fucking annoying. Honestly, he puts his own commentary in there. It's so fucking cringe. August, why don't you do that? I'm just kidding. Don't do that.
That's enough.
So I wasn't even planning to post this, but this genius decided to make a whole video about Asmon, and then I witnessed the biggest self-report in human history. This individual claims little children should be able to consent to life-altering hormone therapy.
The phrasing is always what gets me, you know?
To life-altering hormone therapy, because at the same time they cannot not consent going through puberty.
Cannot not
It is a bad point that she made, but then also this person is struggling, so
consent to puberty. Yeah, I don't understand the English. I'm sorry. I feel like that's like a language barrier thing. But like the point is like it's just like drawing the similarities, because puberty induced through HRT, through hormonal treatment, is the same as someone going through
well, it's not the same. It's not really the same. I understand what you're saying. It's not the same.
Natural puberty, their body's puberty. So that is like the similarity. It's like you're talking about like children can't consent to life-altering decisions, so we need to make them go through life-altering things. Their biology destined them to go through these things. Like that is like the point. It's like drawing the similarity between it. It has the same effects because your puberty is controlled by your dominant hormone. Like if you don't produce enough estrogen as a woman, for example, you're menopausal, you need HRT. The problem that I always have is like this rhetoric of like, oh, they can't consent to medical treatment, but we need to force them through the puberty that doesn't align with their gender identity because that is like their destined path. It is the same life-altering process. But the problem that you have is that these children, these trans kids, have a choice and are not being forced through the first puberty that is going to make dysphoria worse, because for the most part, if a trans girl doesn't go through male puberty and instead through female puberty, a lot of things that you use as an identifier to call out trans women to be like, oh, we can always tell it is caused by going through male puberty, and these things don't exist if
they're fucking losing me here. What the fuck is happening?
If a trans girl doesn't go through the wrong puberty. It is just biology.
I'm at a loss for words.
Me too, man. Me too.
When I, for example, talk about consent, the same with me saying, I need to change my editing style. The reason why I have so many jump cuts is because I can't speak. Speaking is very difficult for me, especially when I'm playing a game or something.
Not for me, dude. I never lose focus.
Having errors in my videos, so I make jump cuts. But at this point, I do not know what has been
maybe you're better off just doing that.
Removed
Fuck
because I have so many jump cuts. I don't know if that is the original video. I have to check, actually.
Yeah. For words.
When I, for example, talk...
Do I think I can debate her? I mean, I can debate anybody. Whether I win or not is a different case. But I mean, I guess I'd win the debate. Win whatever this debate. Win, quote unquote.
Talk about consent. The same with me saying, if a trans kid cannot consent to HRT, then why can they consent to puberty? How does that work? And I don't want to allow something they could regret. If they can't consent to HRT, if they can't decide which puberty they want to go through, how do you like justify forcing
What the
them
fuck?
through puberty? I want to see what has been like removed. When I, for example, talk about consent, the same. When I, for example, talk about consent, it's the same. I don't think that makes sense. I don't think that jump cut makes sense. Let me check something real quick. When these people talk about consent, it's always in a gross way. When I, for example, talk about consent, it is to like address the claims of like trans kids don't exist because they are too young to transition and like all these things. They shouldn't have HRT. It's the same with me saying, hey,
so
you know,
sometimes.
if a trans kid cannot
The game was supposed to put me into an action sequence where I fucking execute that thing, and instead it just decided not to. I love this game, but it's so fucking buggy sometimes.
consent to HRT, then why can they consent to puberty? Huh? Why did you cut that out? Was that too long? Why was that being cut out? Huh?
I don't no idea. Who cares? I don't think you're making a good point anyway.
Huh? Mr. Editor? What the f? Interesting. But I'm the one using things out of context, right? I feel like you're actually proving the point of the video right by doing this. You don't care about context, you just want to push a narrative, and I'm just like a medium that can be manipulated, be twisted in a certain way so you can have your little transphobic moment and weaponize it, get more money out of it, get more views. You don't care about the truth, you don't care about the facts, it's just propaganda. And that is why you're a
I came from
slop
here. I'm
they don't want to
fucking
allow
fat and
something they could regret. If they can't consent to HRT, if they can't decide which puberty they want to go through, how do you like justify forcing them through puberty? I still don't understand how they completely miss the point. Like I don't get it. They don't want context, they want to cherry pick, yeah. They want to push an agenda. Aspen, I'm so tired of the transphobia. I've been hearing the for
I'm sure telling him that's gonna change everything, you know.
how long? 6 years? 7 years now? Probably even longer. I am so tired of it. But you don't care. And that's crazy to me. Oh, why are you obsessed with children so much? Yeah, you must be one of those PDF files, huh? I want trans kids to have a future because 1 in 5 are ending their lives. It's only getting worse because of people like you, because of the narrative that is being pushed, because of the harassment that trans people face, because of the propaganda through the government, getting denied access to not only healthcare, but also losing your housing, being discriminated against at work, in school, in sports. Like, you can't escape it. This is not a trend. Why would anyone pretend to be trans in this world where being transphobic is so lucrative? I don't get it. It's just the same rhetoric being echoed back at me thousands of times, and then people come along being like, oh, you're stuck in an echo chamber. I've never had an echo chamber as a trans person on the internet because it
Well, I'm thinking that if you're confidently posting like this, maybe you have. I don't know. Is this not a furry VTuber echo chamber? Aren't we all in a little bit of a hug box?
didn't matter if it was a forum, a Discord server, video games. I always
Is my game bugged? Dude, this game is so fucking buggy. Look at this. I died. The door's supposed to open. Oh, I guess I have to press this button. Actually, I'm stupid.
faced backlash because I'm trans and I didn't have cis passing privileges. I made my community for people like me, and we still have people like you invade those spaces. People in the comments on my video after your video dropped being like, oh, everybody in here is so delusional. No, we just know the facts. You've just never spoken to a trans person before, and it's getting so tiring. And what we are saying literally aligns with the expert's opinion, but you also do not trust the experts. I don't get it. Are you telling me
Yeah, a lot of them are conspiracy theorists. Yeah, fuck.
that a a young girl that has been abused by their uncle wanting to get an abortion isn't able to consent to that, so we need to force a young girl to carry out a child because
Yeah, I mean, this is like, what are we, like an hour into the whole conversation? This is like the first time you kind of brought up this talking point, which, by the way, is a decent talking point. I'm not gonna sit here and lie, but it's like, yeah, you have to explain to people what you mean when you say consent, and you haven't really done that, you know. And also, they're not on board with it being medical care, so they're not gonna really it's not gonna resonate with them either. There's a lot of different things you have to go through, and you're having the conversation in such an unorganized capacity
because it is not competent enough to consent to an abortion. A lot of them do think, yeah, I know, and it's disgusting. How are you old enough to carry out a child, to raise a child, but you're not old enough to consent to medical treatment? And
well,
now comes the worst.
I have no idea what Asmongold's take is on I have no idea what Asmongold's take is on that. Like, I don't know what his take is on people like having abortions. I mean, I don't know if he's like vehemently against it or what.
These parts are going to get gay marriage repealed.
Did I do? It is not the fault of the trans community that fascists are taking away gay marriage, gay rights. They didn't stop going after gay rights. Trans people are being used as a tool, and what you're doing is also transphobia because you're trying to turn my community, the LGBTQ community, against people like me who are speaking out. And like, some trans people fall for it because they are so stuck in this right-wing echo chamber that they believe that anyone who is speaking
He's pro-choice. Yeah, I would have assumed that he'd be pro-choice.
out is making it so much worse. When all we are doing is fighting for our rights, to have like a better future for our community, for people like us who are dealing with the same issues. It is crazy to me that you're pushing this like divide and conquer shit just because I dare to speak out against Kirche, right? That's what it is. You get what you deserve type of mindset, right? This is what I asked for because I'm advocating for trans rights.
Person tweeting about me. Trans kids exist. I was one. I was not groomed.
Oh, wow, they have a lot of sources in there. That's good. Man, gotta give them credit for that.
Into this. People like Asmongold get millions.
Oh, what did you skip over?
Now?
Aspen, what did you skip over?
Zach.
I'm not a masochist. I don't think I'm a... Am I a masochist?
The fuck is this? Just looking at their stream. It's a very interesting stream. Okay.
This is a threat. You don't go from 1 to 4. That is not how you read a book. This is not... You know, that doesn't work. Okay, maybe let's read everything, huh? Trans kids exist. I was one. I was not groomed into this. I knew who I was and I knew why I was different, but I never spoke to anyone about it. I didn't have trans education or representation. I was all alone with this. Emotional. And that made me anxious and depressed from a young age. Jesus Christ. Okay. It's an emotional post. We are not confused children who just need to be taught our gender roles, etc. We know that how...
Well, you are confused children, right? But it doesn't make it invalid to have gender dysphoria. I think that's the point that you want to make there.
we are perceived in how we perceive ourselves doesn't match who we are inside. We know what being...
I don't know if they're crying or just German, if I'm being absolutely honest with you right now. Really don't know.
Trans is, even if we don't have the label for it. But we need the label to get help. You people insist on pushing the vegan dog metaphor, but here's what it actually means. The same way some force a dog to be vegan, you force a boy to be a girl. You insist that every trans boy is actually a girl and force them to act like one. It's abuse. Explain in WoW raid terms, Grog? Grog, can you explain this one in raid terms to Asmon?
Trans kids exist. I was one. I was not groomed into this. People like Asmongold get millions of...
Oh, that also goes further. Oh, I didn't realize that this thread doesn't end after part 4. How many posts are there to that? Let me actually look for that. From NyaraVT, confused children. Trans kids exist. I was one. Oh! 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, that's actually 10.
What is it that there's Asmongold cutting? I mean, I guess he would blame the editor for it. Is that what's happening? Like, oh, the editor's cutting stuff out? I mean, that might be true. I guess I'd care more if I cared about this person. They're so annoying.
Tweets. Okay, you can read this one. I'm going to finish it, okay?
Groomed into this. People like Asmongold get millions of views, spreading hatred and denying our existence, while stories of trans adults and children are being suppressed and invalidated. Oh, you just don't know who you are, or you fell for big pharma, or you're just mentally ill. I don't know about this person's history. I can't draw any conclusions on it.
Yeah, maybe if you had read the whole tweet, you could have drawn a better conclusion about it. Let's continue reading, just for fun, okay? Let's just continue reading after this one. We know exactly what we are dysphoric about, but cis people insist that we will grow out of it and be just like them. The same agenda has been used against gay people for decades, and it's just recycled BS. Society isn't just black or white. There's a lot of gray in nature, but you people rather want a child to be traumatized, depressed, suicidal, than to accept that sometimes people are different from what society deems to be the norm. I hate having to repeat myself.
We can finally be bees, guys.
I hate how our cries for help fall on deaf ears because you people want to
fall on deaf noodles.
Scapegoat. This anti-woke culture war is just a distraction. But instead of you people going after the real reasons why your lives...
Well, I mean, I agree with that, but like, attraction for what? Like, explain that too. Like, yeah, distraction to not give a shit about like taxing you correctly, like healthcare, not giving you healthcare, not giving you this, you know. It's a way to just fracture people. I agree with that, you know.
Miserable. You go after innocent minorities. It's the same with blaming women and feminism.
I guess trans people are a minority, but I never would consider it like that, you know. Trans people are minorities. Yeah, I guess so.
Male loneliness. It's the same with blaming undocumented migrants or asylum seekers for the housing crisis. The same with the job market. You people want to ignore the root cause and point the fingers at oppressed groups because punching down makes you feel powerful. I was a trans kid and I want trans kids to live and grow up without the trauma and abuse of cis people. I want trans people to have access to healthcare and education instead of them having to hide who they are to be safe. This isn't grooming. This is making lives worth living. I wish society wouldn't...
I think they're crying. That's sad. I mean, I can appreciate the message. It's a nice message.
Make being trans so difficult. That trans people give up on embracing who they are. Gender affirming care benefits cis people, and they can access it easily, while trans people are being denied those privileges. How is that okay? How have you no empathy?
You are doing more damage to the entire trans community than you can even know.
But
it's kind of true. A little. There might be a little truth to that. It sounds terrible, but like, you know, the way that you talk about these topics is not. It's not helping you at all. Oh, I guess I can't go there. Okay, thanks. But yeah, the way that you're talking about it doesn't really resonate with a lot of people, and they use it as an excuse to demonize you and other trans people. Saying you're not going to leave the children alone is probably never going to be a message that's going to resonate with a particularly high number of people.
The audacity, the absolute
Where the fuck do I go, dude?
To say this to me after everything I've been through. After everything that I'm advocating for.
It's so sad, but it's kind of true. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. You know, I think you don't really resonate with other people. It's so sad, but it's so true.
That I'm pushing for all the topics that I had to educate myself to get where I am now. I'm so fucking tired.
Damn, that's so fucking sad.
I don't want to do this anymore.
That's fucking terrible, man.
It's so annoying. It's always the same.
I would take a break from the advocacy and maybe just have some fun. Asmongold just kind of ulted you there. No, that's fucking sad. It's so sad.
It's literally always the same agenda, and I'm tired of it.
It's sad because you could tell this person is being so genuine. you know, and they're up against somebody who really doesn't care very much about what he's talking about, and that's Asmongold. Asmongold doesn't really give a shit what he's saying. He doesn't really care about anything that he says. Like, he's like admittedly does not care at all about what he's saying. It means very little to him, and that's kind of like gives him like an easy out when he gets criticized to be like, oh, okay. Like, that's kind of his whole shtick, right? That's a lot of their shticks, is they just be like, oh, I don't really care. That's all, kind of the whole thing. It's really sad though, because they're talking about very charged topics without actually giving some of the people that belong to some of these communities like a chance to actually express themselves in a productive way, you know? So it's kind of sad.
I literally can't. I
I
need a break. If I go to the comments, okay, let's not tolerate this behavior. Let's downvote this evil behavior. What a Reddit type comment. I didn't know wanting to help kids be normal was a bad thing. Conversion therapy is abuse. It's so funny watching this ideology get crushed in real time as the Overton window drives further and further right. Leave the kids alone. I don't contend to aging yet. It's still age and can't change a thing about it. Yeah, but you can change what puberty you're going through based on the dominant hormone that you can get through medication. Get off woke Twitter? How delusional are you? You're fueling transphobia. I'm not pushing anything onto anyone. I'm making content to share my experience. I'm making content to talk.
I think you should talk more about your experience then, instead of like be as combative, because your experience is, I think, more valuable than some of your talking points are. I mean, your talking points are not helpful, I would say.
About the education that I desperately needed when I was trying to figure myself out. I'm trying to explain what it's like to be trans.
Let me go this
to
way.
cis people. My content is for adults. My streams are 18+. I'm trying to be a little less unhinged and do less stereotypical VTuber type of content. I'm still really uncomfortable with anyone below the age of 18 in my community. That is why I don't allow that. I'm literally just doing educational content. I'm not a medical expert, but it feels like if you're trans, you need to know so much to just get help. This has almost as many likes as it has comments. This has 1,300 comments, 1,400 likes, and a lot of them are still in the health stage. But I don't want to look at that. I don't want to look at that stuff. You need to respond to a Leafy clone called Sensitive. What? Just made a video crying about you. The thing.
Oh, sensitive society, I guess. Shout out, I suppose, for that guy existing.
It's like, what do I gain from that? It's the same rhetoric. It's the same talking points. It's the same stuff. I've been repeating it over and over again. Like, I have so many videos educating and like explaining all the views that I have. First it was Rev. I made the big video on it because that was like the big thing. Oh, Nyara thinks that children can't consent to medical treatment. Because if I say, oh, the parents consent to like for the child because the child cannot consent enough to this form of medical treatment, then you turn around and being like, the parents are just crazy and mentally ill and they're forcing the children like, I'm just like set up for failure. But you people do that with trans people all the time. You also do that with trans women. If they fulfill your expectation of womanhood, then it's like, oh, you're just cosplaying woman. You think putting on a dress and wearing makeup and doing all these stereotypical things is what makes you a woman. Like, actually, you're responsible for there being actually gender stereotypes. You're enforcing these things. But then, on the other hand, if you have a trans woman who is like, yeah, I'm a trans woman, but I don't really do anything. I don't work enough for my voice. You people come along being like, oh, you should do voice training. You should do voice training. You don't sound like a woman enough. You're not putting in enough effort to be a woman. Why would I call you
You can't please everybody, huh?
she, her, if you don't even sound like a woman? Have some basic human decency. Be open-minded. Use your platform for good. But no. Because you know that if you would entertain that trans kids exist, your entire rhetoric is going to fall apart.
Well, yeah, people might I don't know, they might not resonate with Asmongold as much anymore. I don't know how audience captured he is potentially. I don't know.
And all of your
And
incels.
for all we know, he could change his mind on it, and maybe he wouldn't lose any of his audience. Who the fuck knows?
Followers who are coming after me.
Is this the right way to go?
Who are whining in the comments. Who are calling me a groomer. They would turn on you. And then you wouldn't get 60,000 views when you're streaming. I'm going to turn this into a video. It's going to be pretty difficult, and I'm crying a lot. It is a really emotional topic for me. It's a traumatic topic for me. I need to gather my strength so I can keep pushing. And I think, because, you know, TwitchCon is coming up, I'm just going to take the rest of the month off. I don't think I'm going to post another video. I don't think I'm going to be tweeting as much as I have. I'm going to try to take as much of a break from everything as possible. I will be streaming again June 3rd. It is a Tuesday, 5 p.m. CEST. That is when I'm planning to come back to all of this. The things that I'm saying shouldn't be controversial. They're only controversial to people who do not have an understanding of gender affirming care for trans youth, who do not understand what it's like to be trans. I'm literally just a small streamer, and you people dogpile on me. Oh, you get what you deserve. How dare I want to have a better future for trans people. We are going to keep pushing. I'm not going to give up. I feel like it's pretty important to speak up, and I know that it can be incredibly overwhelming because of the incredible level of hatred for the trans community on Twitter, on YouTube, wherever you are. I'm really thankful for all the support that I've been receiving. I've been growing my platform a lot in the past couple of months. I'm glad that I've been able to help a lot of people. I just want to be done with transphobia. I'm so sick of it. I'm so tired of a transphobic trend that is actually just being pushed by people who want to turn it into something lucrative, who are jumping on it, being like, oh, look, I'm fighting the woke trans person on the internet. Yeah, I made a video on Yara. Please, can you watch that? Can you, please? It's so dumb. It's so pathetic. I hate this form of thing because like you just go nah, you're just taking things out of context. You're just going to be like, oh, I'm just using common sense. You just have no understanding of the topic and are weaponizing ignorance. At least
true. I mean, it sounds like this person's very new to the space, so they don't necessarily have very refined talking points about what to say here.
there's monetization. Yeah, but like these people don't watch it. They're not watching the video. That's why it has like such a low
that's kind of how the game works, man. Or cis, whatever. It's kind of how the game is that wrong too to call them cis, right? Because they're not cisgendered. It's kind of how the game is. You kind of have to get used to it, or you're gonna get steamrolled on it. And I mean, nobody really cares enough. Like you're getting hate, but those people really don't matter in any meaningful capacity. You know, you gotta try not to focus on it. It's easier said than done, but you kind of want to try not to focus on it. But like, yeah, those people really matter.
Viewer retention, and then the algorithm thinks it's clickbait, so it's not being recommended enough.
And it's not just the trans community. There's AOE damage that's happening to the gay community.
Incredible.
As a macro community, because you've decided to attach yourself like a parasite.
Wow, I love that the game crashed. Isn't that incredible? Gotta love it.
Site to the LGBT community, and then turn it into effectively a weapon for you to push this on children.
So,
I mean, again, with you, because they keep saying this push on children, you can't. You have to stop saying we're going to come after. I wonder if it's a language barrier thing. I wonder if a lot of this is a language barrier, where like maybe they're not understanding that when you say that you're gonna come after kids, people are looking at that as like you want to fucking groom kids.
do you agree that kids can be gay? Because people said that gay people are pushing gayness onto children. You know that, right? The audacity to claim that that is not transphobic.
90-10 issue. Who cares about the age of consent?
That is not what I said. There's no LGBT without the T. Exactly. Trans people.
Yeah, it's so interesting that German people can speak such fluid English and then still understand none of it. Isn't it beautiful?
Trans people have started the movement. We've always been fighting. Breaking news: a hetero white man speaks about my.
This looks like something's broken here. This looks like there's something broken in the game.
minorities and is wrong. Yeah. What you just
Wow.
said has literally been used against gay people for decades. Oh, they're
Something's not right in this game right now. Okay.
coming after your children. We just need to convert them. If you're gay, you've been abused, you've been a victim.
Okay.
Gay people, the LGBT people, they finally have gay marriage.
All right, I know she's not saying that because she believes that she's saying it as like a mocking them. I just want to make sure YouTube's clear. Don't support this message.
And they are still fighting for gay rights. Oh, you're just never fully satisfied. You always want more. But yeah, I'm tired. I need a break. The ignorance is painful. And the harassment.
My eyes are going to fucking explode in this game. I actually have to restart this. This is horrible. Holy shit. Okay.
It's great. I don't want to keep pushing on Twitter for now. I have been pushing pretty hard these past couple of months, and I guess it was all leading up to this. It was destined to happen eventually.
Yeah.
Because of the type of content that I make and how vocal I am, how
Vocal.
obnoxious I am, and I'm so sorry for people having to endure my voice. Did you know that I would actually have a female voice, quote unquote, if I had not gone through male puberty? Because testosterone affects your voice. Estrogen doesn't fix that again. By the way, Riri Gaki got banned. I don't know what
Gotta get like some kind of vocal surgery, right?
the reason, but I always think it's funny when these right-wingers, like, the first thing they do is just, like, start blaming Hassan. Like, I don't get it. Like, why is that the first thing they do? It's just like, oh, this right-wing fascist got a ban from Twitch for saying something stupid. But Hassan is doing propaganda on stream. Hassan is talking with the Houthies.
Oh, dude, now I have to hate you. I'm obligated to now, even though I supported you in this video, I'm now obligated to hate you because you like Hassan. I'm so sorry. The line has been drawn.
Oh my god, it's so dumb. Anyways, I do think that your voice matters, but I also know that, like, the harassment that I'm facing is pretty awful. And this is now the third time that a trans VTuber is basically being bullied into silence. Even though I'm not going to
We gotta pick a struggle. You can't be trans and a VTuber, you know what I'm saying? You gotta pick one.
shut up. I still need a break to recover from everything. Wish I could stream longer, but I'm just crying. I'm just very emotional.
Very sad.
But I'm really proud of you all, and I'm super grateful. I'm so thankful for the community that I have. Make sure you join the Discord, and I will keep you updated there. Going to talk about TwitchCon over there. I'll be back again June 3rd, Tuesday, 5 p.m. CEST. After TwitchCon, more stories to tell, and we're going to see how everything is going to develop. And I'm going to try my best to not get into arguments on Twitter. I just need to tune that off and, like, resist the urge of checking my notifications every 3 minutes.
Okay.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Oh my god. I did that. Okay. Well, that was something we watched.